Hello everybody, Griever84 here with a little bit of a different genre or game, as you can see here, for a video today. For my Pokemon fans here, I have not given you guys a lot of content on my YouTube, so we're actually going to start out a new series where I get you guys prepped for competitive breeding for those of you who would like to try and tackle any type of serious battling in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So, starting off today, we are going to begin with a simple basic step. How to get yourself a Ditto. Now, there's actually several ways you can get a Ditto, both for the base game, the Isle of Armor DLC, and the Crown Tundra DLC, and I'm going to go through step by step here and kind of show you what you need to do and what are the processes and steps that you'll need to take in order to actually acquire yourself a Ditto first off, and to show you what method is going to be the best to actually get yourself one to breed with. Also, at the end of the video, I have a little bit of a surprise for those of you who like to breed for shinies on how to get yourself a different region Ditto as well, so make sure you watch until the end. Alright, so starting off here, we're actually in the main wild area in the Lake of Outrage, over in the northwest part of the second section of the wild area. So you do need to progress through some of the game. Now, as you can see, the weather is foggy, but the Dittos themselves actually spawn consistently across pretty much all types of weather. Now, they are a bit of a rare spawn, so you might have to walk around for a little bit. But if you're trying to get yourself a Ditto to get started with here, this is going to be the perfect place to start looking. Now, of course, with any types of wild Pokemon, individual values are going to be random at best. There's no guarantee of any maxed out individual values when you're catching wild Pokemon like this. So this is a starting point, can at least get you going in your breeding process, but don't expect to catch a 6 IV Ditto right off the bat here. Now, as you can see, I did get lucky and catch one with a silver powder on it, which is a Ditto unique item, or I'm sorry, quick powder. But as you can see here, the individual values, none of them were actually any good, and it even had a 0 HP IV stat. Now, if you're not familiar with what individual values are, this is something that I will cover in another video. So just be aware of that I might use some terms that you may not be aware of yet. So on to the next section here of where you can collect a Ditto. This is also in the same second section of the wild area, but it's also known as the Stony Wilderness. And there's actually a raid den over here hidden in the corner that you'll actually, right here on the map that I brought up so you can kind of see where it's at. And you need to do a specific trick here, which I'm going to show you, or at least start to show you, where you can advance, or first off, you can slow the text down of your game. Okay, and this is actually very important because this will allow you to exit out of the game before it saves when you throw a wishing piece in there. And if you've got limited wishing pieces, this is a great way that you can catch yourself a or manipulate the den to get yourself a Ditto. So as you can see here, before it finished the message saving your game, I exited out of the game and I enter back in. You know, there's no dangers to this. There's no external cheats going on or anything like that. This is something that's within the actual game and system code that you can do. But as you can see, as I load back in here, it's going to still have me in front of the den here, and I can then regain the watts and of course throw that same wishing piece in. Now, I got very lucky here on my second attempt. We actually got the purple beam, which is the rare version of this den, and you specifically need the rare version on this raid den in order to actually get a ditto. Because if you don't, you're not going to have the correct encounter table in order to actually find one. So once you've done this trick, there's actually a secondary trick that you need to do in order to get yourself a 5 IV Ditto. Now, I'm actually going to go over that trick in a separate video as well. So just know that there will be more content coming in the future showing you specifically how to manipulate these raid dens just so you can get, as you can see here, a 5-star Ditto to show up. So I'm going to go ahead and enter the den here and go ahead and try and capture this one. You know, just a standard raid den battle. Obviously, you can see I did not get a shiny here while I was recording, unfortunately. I also use this Gardevoir to check abilities of Pokemons when I'm doing raid den battles. As you can see here, it traced Limber instead of Imposter. So that, you know, I can kind of know what I get before I catch it. But speaking of catching here, we go ahead and catch the Ditto, and we can check out its individual values. Now, the nice thing about raid den Dittos is depending on the number of stars that that you have before you enter the battle, 5 stars will guarantee at least 4 perfect IVs on the Pokemon that you catch. Which is a great starting point for breeding. So I actually recommend going to this raid den to try and get your Ditto to start your breeding process in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, one other thing I do here as part of that whole trick, it is a system date trick. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on so that everything's kind of like, you know, standard and back where it should be. But to check the Ditto out here, I actually got really lucky with this one here. So the first Ditto I caught out in the wild had no perfect stats, but this one that I caught out of the raid den actually had 5 perfect IVs and was only missing a special attack stat. So this Ditto right here that I just caught is perfect for breeding any type of physical attacking battler that you are going to be using in the future. So that is the second area that I would recommend catching your Dittos in. Now, to go to the DLC here, first things we're going to do is we're actually going to fly to the Isle of Armor. So the first 2 areas were specific to the base game. Now, if you have the Isle of Armor DLC, there's an island specifically out here in the lower east part of the map. I call it Ditto Island. I don't know if there's like an official name for it or if I've just, you know, missed it in all of the, you know, hours I've played this game. But it is filled to the brim with wild Ditto spawns. As you can see here, you know, they're kind of just all over the place. And just like when we are out in the Lake of Outrage at the beginning of the video, these Dittos have the same individual value problems that the Lake of Outrage ones do. It's random. So if you happen to get any perfect IVs, then consider yourself lucky when you're catching a wild Ditto like this. Otherwise, you know, you could spend tons and tons of time out here catching these things constantly to hopefully get, you know, super lucky and get a multiple perfect IV one. So we're going to go ahead and get this one caught here. Alright, now that it's been added to our party here, I'll go ahead and check it out real quick to see Maybe if we got lucky with individual values here. It looks like we did actually. We got 3 perfect IVs here with catching this one, so that's actually a pretty good random catch there. Not the best starting material, but hey, you know, you got to start somewhere in getting those perfect IVs. So now, finally, for the Isle of Armor, on this same island, there's one other way that you can actually get a Ditto, and it's this specific raid den right here. Um, Now, this raid den is unique in the fact that you don't necessarily have to do the raid den trick that I was doing earlier in the base form of the game, because both the normal beam and the purple rare beam both have dittos on their encounter table. The only difference for this specific raid den is the fact that with the basic beam, you have a small chance of encountering a Chansey as part of the encounter table, whereas the rare purple beam that you see here again would give you a Blissey on the encounter table. That's the only difference between these two. So feel free to just save your game, throw your wishing piece in, and of course try to make sure that you can get a 5-star Ditto to begin with, as you can see again here. So once again, going to go into the battle, no shiny. But unlike the last Ditto raid den, this one is actually a hidden ability. So you'll see a whole slew of abilities go off here, where the Ditto's imposter makes it transform. Ironically, it transforms into me. It then duplicates my trace, which traced the Magikarp Swift Swim, which caused me to copy the Magikarp Swift Swim. And it's just an interesting little interaction there at the beginning of the battle. So we're going to go ahead and catch this one, obviously, and we will check out its individual values in the post-battle screens. All right, now that we've caught that, thank goodness, we're going to go ahead and step out. Now, the other nice thing about going after Dittos in this specific raid den is you can get Dynamax candies, you can get extra large and large XP candies, and the Armorite ore for the DLC. So if you're farming for those, this is also another good place to go to. So for the final Ditto we caught here down at the level 55 one, kind of comparing everything as we go along so you can see the individual values. This one, even though it was a 5-star Ditto encounter for Raid Den, it was only 4 perfect IVs, but it did have the hidden ability. So there's, different Dittos you can go after so far here. And this will actually cover all of the Ditto encounters for the Isle of Armor at this point. So there's only one other way in Pokemon Sword and Shield that you can then get yourself a Ditto. And unfortunately, this is the hardest way to do it. But the only other place that you can find Dittos in the game is if you go to the max raid dens here in the Crown Tundra and talk to this NPC and do Dynamax raid adventures. And then you have to get lucky enough that a Ditto will come up during your max raid adventure for you to actually catch. So that will cover, so there's 5 different ways that you can get Dittos, and the raid den in the base DLC game is honestly my personal opinion the best way to actually get a hold of them. Now what you're seeing here is a specific code that is made by the Pokemon community. These codes are kind of passed around underground. Before the expansion of the link code, where it used to be only 4 numbers, the 4448 was the code to trade Dittos with other individuals. So when they expanded the code from 4 to 8 characters, they actually just duplicated the code here. And as you can see, there's no editing magic here. I just randomly put in the code, got a trade with somebody, and offered up a ditto. And lo and behold, as you can see here, they offered up a ditto in return. Now, when doing this, make sure that you check the ditto, see kind of like what region it's caught from, uh, you know, take a look at its stats, see if maybe, it's kind of hard to tell if it's got good stats from that window, but, you're taking a risk here, but this is a good way to get yourself a alternate region ditto. As you can see here, I am actually in the process of picking up a Korean ditto. So I'm going to go ahead and trade away my 4 IV American ditto and see what we get in return for this Korean ditto from this other individual that we happen to just randomly meet up with while I was recording this video here. So now the nice thing about this is if you get really lucky while doing these trades, you could get a good IV'd ditto, with 4 or 5, if you're super, super lucky, even 6 IVs that you can then use to breed all the Pokemon that you're after for your competitive needs here. So go ahead and quit the Pokemon trade, and we'll check it out here and see what we got. Now, unfortunately, this was only a 3 IV, but we traded our 4 IV for it. But hey, it still gives us a chance of breeding for shinies. So with that, that is going to conclude this video here. I hope it was informative for you guys. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Make sure to like the video, and of course, subscribe to the channel. I am going to be starting, like I said, a breeding series here alongside the Don't Starve Together videos that I'm doing. So don't fret if you're a DST fan. I promise I will still get videos coming out for that. But thank you guys for watching. Take care. Enjoy your time. And until next time, my Guardians, GG, and see you guys later.